Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. My name is Joe Serrano, and I'm a workplace consultant here at UST. Thank you for joining today as we'll discuss different unemployment funding options for 501c3 organizations and also learn why our nonprofit members lean on UST for support. UST provides a wide array of solutions relating to both unemployment and human resource needs. Before I begin, a few housekeeping items that I'd like to review. A copy of today's slide deck will be sent out to all attendees with some valuable tips in helping to manage your unemployment claims. So please be rest assured if you have any technical difficulties, if you lose the connection, you'll receive a copy of today's presentation in its entirety within the next 24 hours. We also want to make your experience as enjoyable and interactive as possible. There's going to be a few poll questions throughout today's presentation. I believe there'll be a total of 5 questions. We highly encourage participation because your feedback goes directly into helping UST assess how to support the nonprofit community and organizations like yours. I'll also provide time at the conclusion of today's presentation for questions. So please feel free to type those questions into the GoToWebinar question box that you see on the screen. I'll be happy to answer anyone's questions at the conclusion of today's presentation. All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at today's agenda. During today's presentation, we will briefly talk about the history of unemployment and how it's evolved over the years to where we are present day. We'll also spend time talking about the different funding options available exclusively to 501c3 organizations and how partnering with UST can help with those different options. We will also wrap up today with some key takeaways and then also save some time at the end of today's presentation for a short Q&A. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. You'll see here on the screen a diagram. It shows the history of unemployment here in the United States. And what you'll see is that the unemployment system has really evolved quite a bit over the years. Way back in 1935, on the heels of the Great Depression, Franklin Delano Roosevelt created the Public Works Program, which included unemployment insurance. At the time, unemployment was nearly 24%. As you can see with the enactment of the Public Works Program, the unemployment rate began to decrease, which brings us to our next milestone. In 1972, most nonprofits were required to begin paying unemployment taxes. However, with a catch, 501c3 organizations had the option to either pay unemployment taxes or opt out of their state system and reimburse on a dollar for dollar basis, a method that was intended to save the organization money. In 1983, the Human Services Unemployment Trust, which is now UST, was founded by a group of United Way organizations that really wanted to help address some of the challenges that came with the reimbursing option. Then we fast forward to 2013, another major change to the unemployment system was when the Unemployment Integrity Act was enforced. This basically this requirement continues to have a lasting impact on employers' protest rights. And we'll go over the Integrity Act later. Now, present day, we continue to see states recovering, unfortunately, from the COVID-19 pandemic. While the unemployment rates remain low, they have begun to creep up. As you know, unemployment is very cyclical. What goes up must come down, and what goes down must obviously go up at some point. Now that we've briefly talked and learned about the history of the unemployment program on a federal level, we want to also hear from you. Oftentimes, when we're speaking with organizations, we hear many different pain points that the organization and their key administrators are trying to solve. Maybe they're looking to save money or a way to offer career transition services to separated employees. Maybe you wear multiple hats within your organization, or the organization just needs some help managing their unemployment claims or simply need HR guidance to help them with their day-to-day operations. More often than not, UST is able to really help address these pain points that nonprofits are facing. So let's take a minute with the next poll, our first poll question, to hear from you, the organization and the administrator. So this is the first poll question that I'm going to launch. The first poll question is, as an organization, what problem are you trying to find a solution for? And the answers can range from turnover and retention, unemployment claims management, budget management, employee training, and employment law. So I'm going to give everyone an option to answer this first poll question that you should see on the screen now. Answering the poll question, really easy. You just need to type or tap your screen. As once everyone's done answering the first poll question, I'll share the results with everyone. And again, the question to the first poll question is, what problem are you trying to find a solution for as an organization? All right, it looks like most of the results have come in. So thank you everyone for answering this first poll question. So I'm gonna go ahead and share the results with everyone. And it looks like the #1 response was needing assistance with turnover and retention, followed by assistance with employment law. And in third place was unemployment claims management. So thank you everyone for answering that first poll question that we offered. All right, well, now that we're done with the first poll question, let's really dive into the meat of our presentation. UST surveyed the nonprofit sector and found out that 1 in 4 nonprofit leaders were not aware of the unique tax alternative only available to 501c3 organization. So what exactly is this tax alternative? When thinking about the funding options available only to nonprofits, there's really 2 main options available, but we're also going to talk about a third option as well. We will go into more details in the upcoming slides, but the first option is the one most people are familiar with, and it's the cornerstone of the FDR Public Works program we mentioned earlier, and that is paying state unemployment taxes. Employers who elect the tax paying option pay a rate determined by the state. The second lesser known option is the reimbursing option, which is exclusively only available to 501c3 nonprofits. These 501c3 organizations have opted out of paying state unemployment tax insurance programs and basically reimburse on a dollar for dollar basis, meaning they're only responsible for their own organizational claims. The third option that we'd like to talk about today is reimbursing with UST. This is for employers who have opted out of paying state unemployment taxes and have joined UST to help manage their claims experience. All right, let's go ahead and talk about that first option, paying state unemployment taxes. State tax-rated funding is a pooled claim system which closely resembles an insurance program. Employers who pay into the state system are funding the statewide pool, often used to subsidize large for-profit companies whose claims continually exceed their maximum payments. Think of companies like Starbucks, Target, Walmart. When paying into the state unemployment tax system, employers on average are paying almost $1.50 in taxes for every dollar that is paid out to former employees. So the big question is you need to ask yourself, it's like, where does those payments go? Well, obviously, some of it goes to covering claims for your former employees, which you want it to do. But those overpayments are going to cover claims for those for-profit companies I mentioned, any claims for employers that have gone out of business, and lastly, overpayments are used to cover administrative costs for state unemployment systems. One of the most significant ways that nonprofits can save money is to really look at their unemployment expenditure. When it comes to funding unemployment, there's basically 2 options, and then there's the third option, working with UST. As a 501c3, you have options, but does it really make sense to take advantage of those options? There are benefits to being in the state system, like having a cap on liability, for example, but there's also a lot of challenges as well. Those challenges, like subsidizing other employers with high claims year after year, will obviously have a direct impact on your bottom line. That said, However, there are some nonprofit organizations that would be better suited or served by staying in the state system. For example, and you can see the examples on the screen here, employers that have less than 10 full-time equivalent employees, there are some exceptions to that, or organizations with large layoffs or seasonal workers would really benefit from staying in the state system because often claims for these employers would significantly exceed maximum annual tax requirements. And speaking of tax rates, did you know that almost half of the states either raised their tax rate, taxable wage base, or both in 2024? This idea is really important to help determine future impact on your unemployment cost. We always hear USC suggest that taking a look at your annual rate notice to see if your organization were impacted by any of these increases. Now that we've covered the option of paying state unemployment taxes, let's shift our focus to the other option, which is reimbursing or pay as you go. This option is very different from the tax system in that organizations are not paying into a state pool or subsidizing larger for-profit employers. Instead, they reimburse the state on a dollar for dollar basis for their employees only. This is an exclusive option available only to 501c3 nonprofits, which is really designed to help them save money. So instead of paying the average $1.50 in taxes for every $1 in claims, you would only be responsible for paying your exact amount of benefits to your former employers, offering significant benefit. Similar to how we discussed the benefits and challenges of the state tax system, let's talk about the benefits and challenges of reimbursing. The two biggest benefits are that organizations are paying for their claims, only which can help them save money, and by managing claims effectively can continue to reduce those costs. Some of the challenges faced with reimbursing is that significant claims volatility can put a strain on cash flow. Managing and protesting claims can be time consuming, and sudden unanticipated losses can mean that you exceed the state rate cap. We also find that reimbursing option is best suited for organizations with 10 or less full-time employees, organizations that are overpaying in the state system with a few seasonal workers. Now that we've talked a little bit about the first two options, let's look at the third option and how UST helps support reimbursing employers. We will spend the majority of the remaining presentation talking about the third option and how UST helps reimbursing employers address the challenges of reimbursing. We understand the complexities of cash flow challenges in the nonprofit sector, so we will showcase how we help to stabilize cash flow, so there's basically no surprises. Couple that with savings and asset protection, and you have a really good recipe for financial stability. For those who have challenges managing claims or HR day-to-day operations, we will highlight how we partner with nonprofits across the country who have elected to reimburse for unemployment. All right, thank you everyone so far for following along. This actually brings us to our second poll question, which is really relevant to the idea of the options when it comes to unemployment. I'm going to go ahead and launch this second poll question so everyone can answer it. The question is, as a nonprofit organization, are you currently paying state unemployment taxes, or are you reimbursing for your own unemployment cost? All right, thank you everyone. It looks like almost everyone has answered this second poll question. I am going to go ahead and share the results with everyone. And it looks like the largest response is, it looks like 42% of you are paying taxes, followed by 25% that are already reimbursing. There's 8% of you that are currently being assisted with your unemployment in the reimbursing option. And there's about 25% of you that didn't know that there was, the second option available, which is completely understandable. All right, thank you again, everyone, for answering that second poll question. We're going to go ahead and continue on. So far, we've discussed the history of unemployment, the different unemployment options available to 501c3 nonprofits, and the pros and cons of those funding options. So how exactly do employers address the challenges of reimbursing through a partnership with UST? As mentioned earlier, one of the challenges of reimbursing is the volatility of unemployment claims from year to year and how those fluctuations can really impact your organization's cash flow. One of the ways that UST helps to address that challenge is by helping members build a reserve. By building a reserve, it really helps to even out the cash flow so that when there are periods of low unemployment, you can build up a reserve, which is basically highlighted by the blue section on the graph that you see on the screen. And when there are periods of high unemployment, employers can draw down on the reserve, which is highlighted in the purple section, all while keeping deposits to your reserve account relatively stable during and after periods of higher unemployment. It's also really important to have a plan in place for when or if there are extended periods of high unemployment, which could really impact any funds earmarked for unemployment charges. With UST's trust solution, we help protect cash flow even further by continuing to reimburse the state for claims, even if they exceed your organization's reserve balance. As an added layer of protection, we also offer stop loss protection for organizations experiencing excessive claims. Also, coupled with a reserve account, UST Trust really provides savings and asset protection by effectively managing claims. And this slide does a really good job of illustrating that. Here's a great example of how claims auditing is critical to asset protection. In this example, an organization had initial liability of claims of over $58,000. But by working with the claims administrator, they were able to reduce their out-of-pocket dollar for dollar expense by almost $20,000 by disqualifying claims right out of the gate, as well as claims charges auditing to ensure organizations are not paying for erroneous claims. This is really all about helping your organization save money and reduce costs. Coupled with a reserve account, UST Trust Program provides savings and asset protection. Sorry for the technical glitch. My system just froze for a second. So just to recap a little, so far we've talked about the history of unemployment, nonprofit unemployment funding options, and the pros and cons of each option. We've talked about supported reimbursing and how UST helps with savings and asset protection. But what actually happens when you have an unemployment claim? What is that process? Before we dive into the claims process with UST, let's take a step back and think about what the cost is to actually replace an existing employee. It is really quite staggering how much employee separation costs can add up. These costs can range anywhere from 50% to 200% of the salary, which covers unemployment, recruiting, loss of productivity, and training. So to look at it from a real dollar and cents perspective, if you have an employee whose annual salary was $60,000, it would cost you, the organization, approximately $30,000 to $45,000 to replace that employee. Think about the impact this could have on your organization. What strategies could you implement to avoid employee separations? Now that we've basically looked at the big picture, cost of employee turnover. Let's dig deeper into the unemployment process with UST because inevitably your organization will experience claims at one point or another. UST partners with Equifax Workforce Solutions to really help our members manage their unemployment claims. Through Equifax, our members have full accessibility and access to dedicated claims representatives who help your HR teams manage and effectively respond to the claims as they're received. There aren't, as you can see from the screen here, there's numerous benefits of utilizing a claims administrator, especially if you're with a smaller organization or perhaps have a smaller HR team. This is particularly important as claims administrators help to streamline work processes to really help ensure that your organization never miss a deadline, reduce cost, increase efficiencies, offer hearing representation, and lastly, help with claims auditing. In the next few slides, we'll spend some time discussing the claims process and what to expect as a member of UST. Thinking about the claims process, this slide is a really good example of all of the steps involved in managing an unemployment claim. As you can see, there are several steps that your HR team will be responsible for. They will need to be involved at the time of separation, when the claim is received, respond to the state, and file and attend all appeals as necessary. This will become important to remember when we talk about unemployment integrity in the next upcoming slides. So an important question to ask is, how does the claims process work with UST? Well, basically, UST does all of the heavy lifting for your organization. The only time that you'll have involvement is at the initial point of separation when you have to respond to the claim, and also at the court, and of course, at the time of hearing. This graphic does a really good job at showing who is responsible and when. The dark blue represents when your designated HR contact would be involved, and the light blue represents the area where your claims administrator would obviously take the lead. As a reimbursing employer, it's really important to win at the initial level, the protest level, because at that point, no benefits have been paid out and none need to be recouped from the state. 86% of UST members' claims are won at this initial level. When a claim is filed, your designated HR contact will be notified via email that a new claim has been filed. From there, they can log into the self-service claims portal to respond to the claim. All state-specific questions are preloaded into the system so you can be sure you can accurately respond and meet the state requirements. Due to state unemployment integrity laws, it's extremely important to respond to all claims. Even if you don't plan to protest the claim, it's really important to respond that you're not going to protest. If there are claims that are not responded to due to unemployment integrity laws, you can lose out on your right to protest future claims. And we're going to go over that in a minute. Next, we have our third poll question, which I'm going to launch for everyone. And thank you, everyone, for answering the first two poll questions. This third poll question is, does your organization currently utilize a third party to assist with claims management? Pretty simple yes or no answer. Once again, the question is, does your organization currently utilize a third party to assist with claims management? All right, wonderful. Thank you everyone for answering this second poll question. I'm going to go ahead and share the results with everyone. It looks like 75% of you answered no. Obviously, 25% of you answered yes. So thank you everyone for answering that third poll question. So we're going to go ahead and continue on. There's basically four main ways in which claims administrators can really help mitigate unemployment costs and save your organization money. Through UST's partnership with Equifax Workforce Solutions, you're really supported with day-to-day claims administration which includes all appeals and hearings. They automatically review every claim that is received to really ensure you're not being charged erroneously. And lastly, they really help provide best practices and education on unemployment topics. Thinking a little deeper about specific claims, it's really important to be aware that there's really two types of unemployment claims: last employer and base period claims. Last employer is pretty self-explanatory. It's the claims notice sent to the most recent employer. The type of claim I'd like to highlight and you need to be aware of is base period claims. When the state is awarding benefits, they're using what's called a 5-quarter look back. And if any employer has submitted wages for that individual within those 5 quarters, then the employer will obviously have to pay a portion of the benefits charged. All states across the board, with the exception of Pennsylvania, do not allow protesting of base period claims. If you are in Pennsylvania, the state will allow employers to pay a fee, allowing those employers to protest base period charges. Now let's go ahead and take a look. It's a great example of another UST member, this time highlighting some benefits of utilizing a claims administrator. This particular member is located in Texas and has approximately 322 full-time employees. They were looking for assistance with managing claims and were impressed with UST's claims administration. Now they have a dedicated contact they work with on a daily basis to manage their claims. In fact, this member avoided paying over $145,000 in unemployment claims through UST's expert guidance and the help of a claims administrator. I've mentioned previously that Equifax also has an auditing department. Nationally, we find that nearly 1 in 10 claims are paid for in error. And so with the help of Equifax audit department, we're able to recover a little over $1 million annually, which is money that goes right back to our reimbursing employers and UST members. A more staggering number is that in 2023 alone, the states overpaid unemployment benefits by $4.3 billion. That's a pretty staggering number. So whether you are reimbursing or tax rated, it's really important to make sure someone is auditing those charges, because the unemployment benefit charges will directly impact either your tax rate or your dollar for dollar reimbursements. So thank you everyone so far for following along. We've covered a lot of information. So let's go ahead and just recap a little. We have covered the history of unemployment, nonprofit unemployment funding options, and the pros and cons of each option. Supported reimbursing, how UST helps with savings and asset protection, and claims administration benefits. So how are claims processed when you join UST? So you've heard me talk a little bit about unemployment integrity. So what is exactly unemployment integrity? Back in 2012, there was 11 billion in unemployment benefits that were paid in error. Many of that related to the lack of employers' responsiveness. At that point, the Trade Adjustment Assistance Extension Act, that's a mouthful, was created, which added the Unemployment Integrity Act, affecting all employers. The federal government mandated this act in 2013. So the question is, what does that mean for you as an organization? Unemployment integrity requires all employers to respond to the state's first request for claims information completely, meaning that you can't appeal a decision and provide additional detail at a later time. Failure to respond or failure to provide a complete response may result in penalties, including loss, protest rights, or monetary penalties. So it's really important that you have a solid claims process in place to ensure that you meet all unemployment integrity expectations. Part of unemployment integrity means that you're responding to all claims, regardless if you protest or not. The state requires the following information for every claims, regardless whether you're going to protest that claim or not. And some of the critical and most needed information includes last day worked, rate of pay, information on full or part-time employment, reason for separation, termination information, write-ups or warnings, and resignation details. UST's claims administrator, Equifax Workforce Solutions that we've talked about, also provides Case Builder, which is an online claims management portal. As the power of attorney for our members, EWS will receive all information related to claims. So anytime a claim is filed, they will receive the claim and load it up into Case Builder. Once in Case Builder, the claims contact for your organization will be notified via email. This allows a lot more time for response, and it provides a lot of easy access to search for claims updates, statutes, and important claims information. Another great benefit of our claims administrator, which is included as part of Case Builder, is the online insight reports. Through insight reports, you can pull detailed reports such as the unemployment summary, which provides information on who's been collecting unemployment benefits in any given time period. The claim status report provides a list of all open claims, regardless of whether or not someone's collected. This report is particularly important to reimbursing employers as it allows you to calculate remaining potential liability to determine how much in unemployment claims could still be collected. There may be some instances when there's an unemployment hearing. The good news is that UST offers unlimited 100% hearing representation. A hearing representative is an experienced professional who basically knows what questions to ask. They'll prep documentation and question all of your witnesses, anyone involved in the unemployment claim itself, and they'll also basically do the opening and closing statements for your organization. The great news is that UST with claims administration wins about over 80% of protestable claims. We also understand that there are some unemployment claims that cannot be protested. Some examples of these claims would be lack of work, where individuals were separated due to no faults of their own, or individuals who are a bad fit for the job but did not exhibit willful misconduct. It's really important to have a system in place to address these types of claims. For these situations, especially, UST offers outplacement and career transition benefits to employees who are separating from your organization. This is a really great benefit to offer to the claims mentioned on the previous slide. There are many great benefits for both you as the employer and the employee by offering outplacement. Not only does this reduce your costs associated with the unemployment claim, but it really helps foster goodwill with both your current and former employees. Your former employees will have access to one-on-one job coaching, resume building, interview exercises, and much more, with the goal of getting back to work at a much quicker rate. If they return to work more quickly, it will then reduce your unemployment costs, as those individuals will no longer be collecting benefits. So obviously offering outplacement, especially with an unemployment claim, is a win-win situation for everyone involved. Just another recap very quickly. We've covered the history of unemployment, nonprofit unemployment funding options, and the pros and cons of each option. We've also covered supporting, reimbursing, and outplacement benefits. So the question is, and basically is, how can you stay compliant with your day-to-day operations? One of the ways we help our members with HR and compliance is by offering an HR solution. It's a cloud-based portal called Mineral. Mineral is included at no cost in all of our major unemployment programs. For organizations wanting to focus solely on HR support, the portal is also available through a very affordable monthly subscription-based service. Through this monthly subscription, you can utilize the resource on an unlimited basis. It's the Mineral portal. As I mentioned, it's cloud-based. It is extremely diverse HR solution. It can help support smaller organizations without a dedicated HR professional, organizations with limited HR capacities, or larger organizations with existing HR departments. If you're an organization needing centralized HR support or just looking to augment your HR department, Mineral is just a really great solution. And just to kind of dig a little deeper into Mineral, there's basically four main sections to Mineral. There's really, with Mineral, there's really no more creating HR forms from scratch or researching rules for family leave, overtime, or employee classification. Mineral provides nonprofits and our members thousands of downloadable forms, documents, tools, and checklists quickly and easily. Dynamic resources allows nonprofits to create and update and manage their employee handbook, search for state-specific laws, and also receive the latest news on changing regulations to really help ensure full compliance. The other popular feature is the online training portal. With more than 300 digital training courses, Mineral provides the training solutions necessary to really help employees develop the skills they need to be successful in their work and obviously be more productive. There's trainings that help focus on everything from harassment, workplace safety, professional development, and project management. Through the training module, you can also create course tracks to provide all new hires with onboarding courses, or create a track for all new managers with specific training and coaching skills. When it comes to specific HR issues, there is no substitute for talking with an expert. With Mineral, our nonprofit members have full accessibility to our HR consultants who are both SHRM and PHR certified. They can work with these HR consultants through a live hotline for a second opinion on any HR questions that they may have, if they need any help researching an answer, or just even coaching through a workforce issue. So it's a really valuable resource that we offer our nonprofit members. All right, this brings us to our next poll question. And this is the fourth poll question, which I'm going to launch right now, is how large is your organization's HR department? Pretty straightforward question. The question is how large is your organization's HR department? So I'm going to go ahead and give everyone just a few moments to answer this fourth. There'll be one more final poll question, but the fourth poll question today is how large is your HR department? All right, thank you so much for answering this fourth poll question today. I'm going to go ahead and share the results with everyone. And really interesting results, 63% of you said that your HR department is 1 to 2. 25% of you said 0, followed by 13% said 5 or more. So thank you everyone for answering that fourth poll question. We've gone over a lot of information today, and thank you everyone for following along. As I mentioned, we've covered a lot today. So let's wrap up with some key takeaways and best practices for your organization. I'll share a few more slides in closing, which will review some of the general best practices and best practices on managing unemployment claims. Some best practices on managing claims is to always have a claims contact on file with your state unemployment agency or any claims administrator that you partner with. This really helps ensure that if someone is out of the office, there is a backup to respond since claims are really time sensitive. Also, ensure that all documentation to support your case is organized and available to all appropriate parties. Respond promptly and thoroughly to each claim when they're being filed. You'll want to make sure you respond to all claims, whether you are protesting or not. Remember, that's part of the unemployment integrity laws. This is particularly important as it pertains to UI integrity. And obviously, you want to avoid any monetary penalties and avoid losing your future right to protest. Lastly, offer outplacement and career transition services to help your separated employees find work much quicker and obviously save your organization money as well. Some other general best practices to remember: please review your employee handbook quarterly or annually to make sure you're always in compliance with state and federal regulations. Remember that building a handbook within Mineral does the hard work for you and emails the administrator on file anytime there is a new policy update. Another important point: determine your annual turnover by dividing the total number of separated employees by the average number of people in your organization. This is important to help determine your annual turnover cost. Next, determine your annual turnover cost to keep track of the costs associated with turnover. Are there any strategies you can put in place to reduce that number of turnovers each year? And then finally, stay compliant with the digital HR platform. This will be helpful if you're a small HR department or someone that wears multiple hats within your organization. Also, make sure you review and assign training courses to onboard new hires and provide continuous development training courses for current employees. And what you see on the screen here are basically 5 ways to help keep your unemployment costs low. First, be proactive and be prepared for claims before they even happen. Decide when to protest improper claims. This doesn't mean you shouldn't respond to claims you decide not to protest. You should always respond to all claims. Third, make sure that all unemployment claims responses are timely and correctly completed to avoid any unemployment integrity penalties. Fourth, appeal all undeserved benefit determinations. Documentation is always critical for this to really help prove your case and to make it as strong as possible. And finally, attend all unemployment hearings. And if partnering with a claims administrator, always request a hearing rep to support your organization as well. One more thing to consider: on an annual basis, you should benchmark your unemployment costs to really help ensure you are saving as much as possible. In fact, if you have little to no turnover, now is the time to really help to basically make that switch. You really want to ask yourself, how many full and part-time employees do you have? How often do they collect benefits? Do you have any planned growth or reduction in staff? Where does your organization fall on the state unemployment tax rate scale? What is your taxable wage base? Would you benefit from having dedicated support? And importantly, if you need help benchmarking any of these costs or determining which funding option is available for your organization, always please feel free to reach out to us here at UST. We're more than glad to help. And just we're almost done. Thank you everyone today for following along. I know we've gone over a lot of information. Just a little bit about UST before we conclude today. UST, we are also a grantor-based trust, which is basically owned by its more than 2,200 nonprofit members. We provide unemployment savings and HR solutions exclusively to 501c3 nonprofits nationwide. UST was founded in the early 1980s by a group of United Ways, wanting to really take advantage of that reimbursing tax exemption. Those organizations wanted to make sure that they had the best practices and risk management tools available to ensure that they could successfully reimburse for unemployment rather than pay into the state unemployment taxes system. Today, UST works with nonprofits nationwide, providing workforce solutions that really reduce cost and strengthens their mission. UST is also endorsed by more than 60 nonprofit advocacy groups, and 97% of UST's current members would recommend UST to another nonprofit. We spent a lot of time today discussing our core program, the UST Trust Program, and how we assist the reimbursing nonprofit. But we actually here at UST have 4 uniquely designed programs that help nonprofits meet their unemployment and HR needs. First off, we've kind of gone over some of this information. We have our trust program. It's in the dark blue bubble at the very top. That's our core program, which started in 1983. Our trust program can really help employers save up to 60% on unemployment costs and prepare for future costs by a self-funded reserve account. Unlike traditional unemployment taxes, the funds you deposit remain the asset of your organization. Because you own your own account, any positive account balance you carry is considered your company funds. The second program is, is support. UST now offers a modified selection of its most popular cost savings programs alongside its traditional UST trust program. Support caters to both organizations that either are tax rated or directly reimbursing by providing access to our most popular unemployment and HR management tools while allowing direct reimbursing participants to remain full control of their funding options. Then third, we have our UST HR Workplace program, which is in the light blue. This is basically our mineral HR portal. It's really an essential tool for staying compliant with state and federal regulations. This cloud-based platform of integrated HR resources and training is supported by live HR experts. It helps really keep your organization in a safe, compliant, and productive work environment. And then finally, at the very bottom, but definitely not least, in the red bubble, we have our UST Secure program. UST Secure is a fully insured program that provides full coverage for all claims up to your coverage limits within the year. While unemployment claims are unavoidable, UST Secure allows you to maintain full control of your unemployment funding, protecting your assets and cash flow from unexpected volatility. Basically, too, your annual fee will be customized based on your organization's annual wages and experience with unemployment claims, protecting you from a shared risk, as well as access to all of our workforce solutions, including claims management tools, certified HR guidance, and also our outplacement services. All right, this brings us to our final poll question today. And I'm going to go ahead and launch this final poll question. And it's basically asking, how can UST help your organization today? And you can answer from anything from if you would like a complimentary unemployment program evaluation to see how much money you could save by taking advantage of the reimbursing tax exemption, a complimentary demo and trial of our HR portal, a demo of Case Builder, which is our claims administration tool, a non-binding quote of UST Secure, or if there's any other resource that you're interested in. So I'm going to give everyone just a few moments to answer this final poll question. The final poll question is basically, how can UST help your organization today? All right, I'll go ahead and basically share the results with everyone. Thank you everyone for answering that final poll question. 67% of you answered other resource, while 33% of you answered a complimentary unemployment program saving evaluation. So UST will be reaching out to each of you individually to go over the unemployment savings evaluation and also just to find out what those other resources could be. So thank you everyone today for answering those 5 poll questions. And I'd like just to take a moment to answer any questions you have. So if you have any questions on today's presentation, please feel free to type those into the GoToWebinar question box. As I mentioned previously, all of UST's analysis and program evaluations are completely complimentary. We also provide a complimentary demo of our claims administration portal and a 60-day no obligation trial of our human resource solution, Mineral. UST really makes this possible so you can have peace of mind when you're exploring how our products and services can really benefit your organization. UST is really committed to supporting nonprofits with their HR and unemployment needs. Thank you everyone for attending today. On behalf of UST and myself, I truly appreciate it. Like I said, my name is Joe Serrano. I was your moderator today. I'm going to stay on the line for the next couple of minutes. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type those into the GoToWebinar question box. Once again, I just want to thank everyone for attending today. I hope everyone found the webinar helpful. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type those into the GoToWebinar question box. There hasn't been any questions yet, but I'm more than happy to stay on the line for the next couple of minutes. And I just also wanted to mention, if any of you ever have any questions or would like to contact UST, our contact information is on the screen. You can always definitely call, you can email, or you can visit our website, which is chooseust.org, or you can scan the QR codes that you see here on the screen. Someone just asked a question. Is it possible to get a copy of the recording? Yes, definitely. We will be sending out an entire version of today's presentation to all registrants within the next 24 hours. So definitely should receive that within the next 24 hours. All right, well, that looks like we are about to conclude today's presentation. Once again, my name is Joe Serrano. I'm a workplace consultant here at UST. I hope you found today's presentation informative and helpful to your organization. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to go over our programs with you. If you have any questions regarding HR or unemployment, we're more than happy to assist. You see our contact information on the screen. You can always connect with UST by emailing us at info@chooseust.org. You can visit our website, or you can call us. Once again, my name is Joe, so I'm going to go ahead and close out today's presentation. Thank you again, everyone.